Over the last few weeks, I've been falling in love with the Saucony Endorphin Azura. But the Skechers Aero Razor has come through and stolen my heart. Today, I will be comparing these two shoes over the course of 2 runs, and my dog is right at my knee licking me. This is Hook. Oh! Oh! Good boy. So the world is a bit terrifying right now because any and all of the sidewalks, all of the moisture from yesterday, all of the melt and all of the sleet and rain froze. So now it's just sheet ice on the sidewalks. Thankfully, it seems like the roads, good morning. The roads are pretty clear because of the camber. All of the water seems to have flown into the ditches, and also the cars heat up the road. But yeah, it's not perfect. We'll see how I do.
If you wanna run with me, there's some things you gotta know. I like my shoes fast and my drop down.
So as it turns out, anything that's not the literal road is just ice. There's nothing, like, there's no friction. It is a zero friction environment on the sidewalks. Even worse than yesterday, like unbelievably bad. So I'm gonna have to be in the middle of the road for the duration of this run. I'm also in the neighborhoods because this is the first time in months that the neighborhood roads have been pretty much universally clear. Of course, they're still soaking wet. There's little patches of like slush here and there, but overall pretty clear. I'm trying to take it pretty slow for the Aero Razor for the first run of the day. Firstly, because I don't typically do back-to-back doubles. It's been a long time. But I'm trying to get up to 100 miles this week, and that's how you do it. You gotta do it. So that's part of it, and then I just want to see how these do when they're not flying. And so far, yeah, these are still like as good as any shoe that I've ever run in. They're top of the charts. Some of the best shoes, in my opinion, that have ever been made or run in by me personally. I'm a double later. I probably said this in the introduction, but in the Endorphin Azura, because I think that for a one-to-one comparison, those are the two shoes that I own that are the most comparable to each other, and certainly that's the most direct comp to the Aero Razor here. And yeah, I think it is a pretty direct comparison, but that I'll have more to say about that this afternoon when I'm running in the Aero Razor, or in the Endorphin Azura. So slowing down and landing more midfoot on this almost feels like it's even bouncier. It's like, I'm going pretty regular pace right now. I'm going like 8:30s probably, and it still feels great. I thought it was going to be kind of a chore to run in this today. Oh boy, I'm on the wrong street for talking.
And my drop down. Hey, you wanna run with me? There's some things you gotta know. I like my shoes fast and my drop down low. If you wanna
There's
run with
a
me,
proper bird in that tree. I don't know what type of bird it is, but it's a proper one. He's big. Is it a falcon? I want him to... Caw, caw! Yeah, here you go. Look at that. No idea. I've never seen a bird like that before. Maybe in the sky, but not this close to the ground. Normally big birds are further up, or at least that's what I feel. I'm not a birdologist. I'm not sure what the quality is about the shoe, but it just makes running so easy. Like, I'm running easier pace right now. I guess I'm not. You know what I mean? It's almost like the assistiveness that you would get from a carbon, but instead of like, I don't know, forcing you, I don't know what it is. It just feels very like effortless to turn over my legs and to run. It just keeps me going along kind of like the Xiaoyan, but
if you wanna run with me, there's some things you got to know. I like my shoes fast and my stack down low. If you wanna run with me, there's some things you got to know. I like my shoes fast and my stack down low. If you wanna run with me, there's some things you got to know.
10 miles, 8:52 pace. And if that pace is any indication, that's a daily pace. That's like slow end of daily for me. Granted, I was messing around with the camera a bunch, but I tend to do that pretty much all the time anyways. And I still managed to slow it down today like I was hoping to do. So I should prove something big to myself, that these are actually daily capable. These are like a daily shoe that could also go fast. They're not a speed shoe that could do daily. They're both things in equal proportions. And for the record, I just did 32 miles in 24 hours in one shoe. So Skechers Aero Razor, man, that's the shoe. That's the shoe to beat right now for me. And honestly, there's nothing that I could see on the horizon that's coming for it. I have ordered some shoes, so people that have been asking for certain reviews will get those at some point. It often takes quite a while for some of these shoes to arrive. But yeah, I had a really great run today, frankly. It was another 10 in the books, and it just was sort of blah, 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 blah. I think it's the weather. It's just springifying right now. Everything is springing into action, and that brings a revived energy to the world. And you get those freak hailstorms like yesterday, which are unpleasant, but on the whole, the trend of both the sunshine and the weather at large, it makes my heart warm. It brings new life into my life. I have run brain. Alright, I will see you in the afternoon for a short second run in the Saucony Endorphin Azura, and then we'll do a comparison. Burger, burger dogs, burger, burger dogs, burger, burger dogs, burger, burger dogs. Boys, 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 do you wanna go outside? Boys, 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 do you wanna go outside? Boys, 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 let's go, let's go. Kind of crazy that I'm actually about to say this, but running in the Azura back to back with the Aero Razor, I think the Power Run PB is actually firmer than the ATPU and the Skechers. That's not what I initially had expected to be observing out of the gate here. I was thinking maybe I would notice the weight in this a bit more, which I do. For sure, this is heavier. But the first thing that came to mind was, it was just the firmness of this of this foam, which to me, I mean, that doesn't detract from the ride so much. I actually think the Skechers is going to have the more comfortable ride for more people. But I think they're both great rides. Like, I like the foam in this. I like the ride of it too. It's very snappy. I think the Aero Razor is a bit punchier, and it has more compression to it for sure. I still really like this shoe. I feel like the Skechers Aero Razor is just optimized and perfected for the category that both of these are striving towards. It's going to be a challenging thing to try to describe, but I think the Azura feels more stable and feels more structured, but they both perform similarly in stability. And I think what it comes down to is the Azura has a wider base and derives a lot of its stability from that, while the Aero Razor is getting its stability from its navigability, and also the way the midsole is structured or like shaped. It feels very directionalized and contoured, maybe is the word. And it points you, because of its geometry and structure, like in the midsole, in the right direction. And so I never feel, it's also flatter, so there's more inherent stability. It's flatter and lower, so it's inherently stable. So yeah, the Azura is getting the stability from the width primarily, while the Aero Razor is getting its stability from like lower size, lower weight, lower stack. But they both come to a very similar end result. Another interesting distinction between the two is that in the Aero Razor, it's not like you could feel the ground, but you at least are aware of a concept of there being a ground. In the Azura, that concept just does not exist. The ground does not exist under your feet. There's nothing that you could feel. It's just foam for miles and miles to the center of the earth. In order of what is most prominently noticeable between the shoes, first, like I said at the beginning, this is firmer. The different firmness of the foams. I didn't expect it to go this way at all. I thought, if anything, it would be the exact opposite. Then, weight is the next most noticeable. This is noticeably heavier. It's not heavy, 250 grams versus 210. So, and that is in different sizes. So Saucony is 250 and a 9.5. Aero Razor is 210 and a 10. So it's even more of a weight gap if you take into the size into account. The third most noticeable thing, I think this is going to be the biggest factor for most people, is the drop. This feels like an 8mm drop. And while I didn't have too much calf-wise soreness from the Aero Razor, after going back to back in these shoes, that's definitely, it feels like the 4mm drop that it is, which works better for me personally, but for other people it might not. But those are the three most salient points that I'm getting so far on this run, on this back-to-back run. You know you're in a really dependable shoe when you're having a terrible run and you think to yourself, at least I have a good pair of shoes on. I've just been having gastrointestinal distress and like raw fatigue It was going to be my highest mileage week in a couple of months. And it's been a steep climb. I went from 70 to 80 to 85 to 90 to 95. And now I should be climbing back up to 100 this week unless something goes horribly wrong. And I think it was nothing hurts. So it was a reasonable climb. I could have probably even climbed quicker, but my body is exhausted. It just wants to stop running right now. And luckily, I will be able to stop running very shortly. And then I'll give a comparison for you all. Alright, that's another 7 miles. I don't know how fast it was. It was kind of fast for a while, and I was like not expecting it to be that way. I felt like I was dragging my feet, but my pace didn't reflect it. And let's see. Yeah, it ended up being 8:49, but I ran into a buddy right after I was complaining to you all about the pain in which I was. My buddy comes running up the other side of, or like on the, coming at me at the U of R. You could tell I have run brain. And he was like, dude, I feel terrible, like I'm in shambles. And I was saying the same exact thing just mere moments ago. Yeah, but it's ramp up season. I think that's where runners in general are at. Like, it's springifying outside. I mean, it's still February, but for sure 35 degrees feels like spring these days. And yeah, it's good. It's good to feel like that. I was just struggling on this run, but I haven't done sequential doubles since some months ago at this point. And all things considered, it went really well. I'll break down the shoes more in a minute. Yeah, I guess that's it then. With that, back to the studio. Boys, do you want to go outside? Zumba! Alright. And we're back in the studio with Saucony Endorphin Azura and the Skechers Aero Razor, my new favorite shoe in the world. There's only 16 minutes on this SD card, and I didn't feel like figuring out something, so we're going to do this really fast. But fortunately, I covered a lot of this already out on the run, and really the main points that I want to touch on that are different between these two shoes are the mechanism of stability, the stack height / drop, and weight. Those are some of the major things, and also the foam density. So I think that's probably a good starting point, because that was the first thing that I noticed as a major difference between the two when I was out in the Azura for the second run of the day. So a little about the day itself. First 10 in the Aero Razor, second 7 in the Azura, and on the run in the Azura, I can't say that normally. I can't say Azura because I'm a purebred American, but I cannot bring myself to say it that way. So in the Azura, I noticed that despite what I was expecting, the Power Run PB actually felt firmer than the, I want to get the name right for this, the Hyperburst Pro. That's the name of the foam in this. I never said that in my first run in this shoe, but it's Hyperburst Pro, which is an ATPU. The Power Run PB felt firmer. I'm not sure why I expected otherwise, but the first run that I did in the Aero Razor definitely felt, to me at the time, it felt very firm. Maybe it softened up into today's run because I did run in this 3 runs in a row, which simply never happens for me. I typically switch up a shoe either every run or I don't go more than 2 runs in a row pretty much ever in the same pair of shoes, but because I love this so much, that's what happened, and perhaps that influenced the feel of the foam today. So that was the first thing I noticed. This is all going to be coming down to preference, really. For me, I like a firm foam, so that was not a negative in the Azura. I don't think it was also a positive either. It was simply a fact of the qualitative experience of running in it. It just felt firmer. Still a very snappy foam. I really love the ride on this. For a lot of the run, I was going a lot quicker than I expected to be going. When I looked down at my watch, I was thinking like, oh, it's probably like 8:30 or something. And then it would say 7:55, which is a quality I generally only find in super shoes. I also was finding that in the Aero Razor today. So maybe I was just feeling better than I really thought I was feeling. But overall, both have a fantastic ride. If I had to say which one I preferred, it's it's kind of pretty clear that it's the Aero Razor. It feels more tailored to my foot. It feels more natural of a ride for me, and the foam is punchier and has a bit deeper of a rebound to it. And overall, it's more nimble, and I think the Azura is very nimble. Right, that was one of the chief characteristics that I really enjoyed about the Azura early on into running in it. And this is also one of my, I mean, this is getting up there in miles. It's probably pretty close to 100 now. I'm not exactly sure where it's at, but it's a great shoe. It's a phenomenal shoe. I think that the Aero Razor just sort of came out of left field and walloped the Azura in my esteem of both shoes. The other thing I wanted to talk about was noticeableness wise was stack height difference. I don't think that this feels exactly like a 4 millimeter drop if you take it in a vacuum. Like the Aero Razor feels like a miscellaneous drop because of how dynamic the foam is, and yeah, it doesn't have a stereotypically low, put all of the load on your calf feeling to it. At least for me, it didn't until I put on the Azura today, and it's noticeable that there's a stack height difference, disparity between the two, and it's clear also that the Azura has the taller drop between the two and the taller stack. Like you could feel how tank-like this feels and how impervious to the road your feet and legs are. Like there's no road feel in this at all, and it's not like there's road feel in the Skechers either, but it's like, you know, at least that you're running on something, that there's a surface beneath you, which can be, it has its own benefits. Like you have better proprioceptive feedback. Like you could feel maybe the change in camber a little bit more. This is just like a big slab of foam that's under your foot. And it's almost like comparing this to the Mega Blast, comparing the Azura to the Mega Blast. It's a similar thing because the Mega Blast feels even more substantial than the Azura does, although not very much. Maybe a better comp is as the Mag Max. Like if this feels like a tank for the roads and like you're not going to feel anything under your foot ever and it's just like impervious to the roads, I feel like the Mag Max, you could run over an active volcano and not even know that you're doing that, right? So that's the gap between this and the Mag Max. A similar gap between the Aero Razor and the Azura is like, they're both very protective is what I'm trying to get at, but obviously there's a stack height difference, and obviously there's also a drop difference that was noticeable, but I don't think that the Aero Razor feels like a low drop shoe. It only really feels like a low drop shoe if compared to the Azura. I bet you if I put the Evo SL on and ran back to back with the Aero Razor, I wouldn't really have the same statement, right? I think that this feels like it could be anywhere from 3 to 6 millimeters of drop, but this definitely feels like an 8. So that's the second thing. Where they get their stability from was another thing that I was talking about on the road. This is more built up. The Azura is more built up, and like any ankle mobility is restricted by the much more rigid heel clip, like lower portion of this heel clip. And it's not like the Skechers isn't also rigid in the back. And even to the touch, it feels perhaps like at least the same amount of rigidity in the heel. But I think maybe it's the sidewalls of the foam of the Azura that, I mean, but there's also sidewalls in the Skechers. The Skechers feels stable itself, but it doesn't feel like the stability is coming from the structure that it has. It's interesting holding these in hand versus on foot. It feels like the Skechers is less structured on foot and the Azura is more structured, but in hand, this is live experiencing the feeling of this in hand just now. Like, I was expecting to have a cut and dry, like, well, yeah, the heel is more flimsy in the Aero Razor. Well, not so, actually. It's pretty much just the same amount of built up as the Azura, but it's not, on foot, it does not feel that way, and that's not where I feel like the stability is being derived. I feel like this is a very cohesive shoe, and the lower drop and the lower stack height makes you just naturally more planted. You're not as high off the ground, so there's less foam to be unstable on, right? And the Azura, because there's so much foam in here relative to the Aero Razor, like, it could be more prone to tipping, but two things are true. It has a wide platform and it's built up around the back, and that's what it feels more built up and it feels more stable due to the heft of it. But the Aero Razor, it's naturally stable. There's nothing unstable about it, and because the ATPU is so firm, especially at lower ends, like, there's not a squidgy soft foam underneath. Like, a soft PIBA, even in lower stack heights, does generally feel unstable. I've even felt slight instability from the Streak Fly before, and that's very low compared to both of these shoes, right? So it's softness of the foam, the stack height, the geometry, all of these things play into how a shoe feels stability-wise underfoot. Weight-wise, I think that was the last one that I wanted to touch on, but I think I thought of something else. But weight-wise, I mean, the Aero Razor is simply lighter. It's lighter in a larger size by 40 grams. It is 40 grams lighter in a 10 than the Azura is in a 9.5. So that's just math for you. It is lighter. It's designed to be lighter. There's less foam. But the real interesting thing here is that this is a 40-32. This is a 36-32. Right? If Saucony just cut 4 millimeters of foam off this shoe, they would be in line with, probably with weight-wise. Like, they're not doing all that much differently in the upper. Granted, the Saucony has more overlays and a more complex upper, generally speaking, but it's pretty close between the two. Oh, one thing that I did notice before leaving for the run today, and I will flash it up on screen, is that the left shoe of the Aero Razor has a product defect in the tongue. The, like, nice microfiber material that lines the inside of the tongue is detaching from the from the upper component on the tongue, and not good, but it doesn't seem to have done anything to the tongue's construction. I'm wondering if I just need to, like, glue it back together or whatever. But yeah, not happy to see that just immediately happen after 3 runs, or 2 runs even, because yeah, it was before this morning's run that I noticed that. It's something to note. Like, that's probably just a QA issue, and it's probably not happening on all of the models. But yeah, it's a slight, like, spoiler to the otherwise completely perfect shoe that I have been enjoying deeply so far. So that's the majority of what I wanted to talk about between these two shoes. They're both similarly priced, like 140 versus 150. I think it does come down to preference. I do think that the Aero Razor, after 3 runs in a row, right, in 24 hours, I did 32 miles in this shoe, right? That's a lot of mileage in 24 hours for one shoe, for me at least. And I think this is capable as a daily trainer as much as it is as a speed shoe. I think that you all will actually love it if you try it. I know it's a Skechers. I know that's crazy. I thought maybe, okay, new shoe, get hype about it. Maybe it's not that great, but I have not run in a shoe 3 runs in a row like this and been so pleased with this shoe. Like, there's nothing that is topping this in my mind right now for pure enjoyment. And I am including the Xiaoyan in that statement. Like, this is just pure fire. Like I'm really loving this shoe. And I also am really loving the Azura. And now this isn't a 2-shoe rotation because they just cross, they're so similar in a lot of ways. And I think that this is just like for the runner that the Azura is just for the runner that might want a little more protection and something that maybe is slightly more pace range capable. And I don't even know how true that is because today I ran just as slow in the Aero Razor as I did in the Azura. So I don't know if that's really a fair statement, but probably for most people, that'll hold true that the Azura has a little bit more on the slow end pace range. But the thing is it doesn't even touch the top end of the Aero Razor. I think the Aero Razor is halfway to race ready. That's how fast that I think the shoe is. Maybe that'll change over time, but in the same way the Mega Blast is. Like the Mega Blast, if you wanted to run a race in a trainer that you spent a lot of time training in and you didn't want to buy a race shoe, the Mega Blast can fulfill that role without, especially with how rigid the midsole is. And like you could run a marathon in the Mega Blast, no problem. I mean, I don't think most people want to be running in a 4mm drop shoe for the marathon, but I mean, dude, I really think this could, I'm going to take this for my long run this weekend. I think that the Aero Razor can go for long, and I think it could probably go for a race. That's how crazy I think this shoe is, frankly. I think it's phenomenal. So this has the top end over the Azura for sure. But otherwise, they're pretty close in comparison. It'll come down to preference and what you're looking for in a shoe. The Aero Razor is more modern. The Saucony plays it a little safe. And that's all I'm going to say because otherwise my memory card will play me out. So thank you all very much for watching. And as always, stay in motion.